on, girl, let's scream.
I am a god.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. This is the part where you run.
Come on, scream.
Hello, and welcome to Let's Scream, where we dive into our favorite horror movies. I'm Stevie.
And I'm Parker.
And today we are looking at 1988's Sleepaway Camp 2 Unhappy Campers, directed by Michael A. Simpson.
Join us as we journey to Camp Rolling Hills and learn the Happy Camper song. Come on, girl. Are you ready to scream?
Come on, girl. Let's scream. Hi.
Sleepaway Camp 2.
My favorite horror movie.
Yes.
It's my absolute favorite. It is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It is fun. It is campy. Pun intended. And it's a cult classic, just like the first film. And this one is a much more comedic film.
Yeah, the first one was like, oh, we're trying to be serious, but like it incidentally came out really stupid and funny. This one, they leaned into it and they were like, let's just make a horror comedy. And it's really funny. I think it's very well written. I think the actors all do a great job. They know exactly what movie they're in.
Yeah, everyone does really well in this movie.
And it just has so many great lines. The whole like inception of this movie is that after the first one, I guess the director from that one, which go listen to our Sleepaway Camp 1 episode from last week with Maddie and Suzanne, which shout out to them.
That was a fun one.
That was such a fun episode. We talked about the director's intentions, and he's just a weird guy. I don't know. But we'll get into that there. Basically, at the end of Sleepaway Camp 1, after that came out, he was like, I don't want to make movies anymore. And was like, I'm just going to go to law school. And like, he became a lawyer. So he sold the rights to Sleepaway Camp, and the company that bought the rights were like, let's lean into the camp, let's make it silly, let's make it goofy. And they found this actress, Pamela Springsteen, to play Angela.
Who is the sister of Bruce Springsteen.
And they had tested Felissa Rose, the original Angela. But I think, well, first of all, I guess she like was trying to go to college at that time and like it didn't really work out schedule wise. But they also had said that she wasn't really nailing the tone of this version of Angela, which is the campy version of Angela.
They're two different characters.
They basically are, yeah. I said last week that I don't even consider this Angela like the Angela from the first movie. I mean, she is, but she isn't. Like, you know what I mean? And we'll get into why. Yeah. I think that she does such a good job. She's so funny. She never acted after these movies.
Because she's also in Sleepaway Camp 3.
She's in Sleepaway Camp 3. This was filmed back-to-back with that. She doesn't act anymore, but she is a very well-renowned photographer now. And she does album covers.
Well, she's great. I love her.
I love this movie, too. I think that this is like just as good as the first one. I love both Sleepaway Camp movies.
And very different.
They're very different, and I love them for different reasons.
Yes.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, if you're looking for a good old stupid time and
it's gonna be real
cunty dialogue,
we're probably just gonna be quoting this whole movie.
Yeah,
because that's literally gonna be this podcast.
Quotes.
That's all this movie really is. There's really no deep meaning other than don't be transphobic.
Exactly.
And we will cheer every time she kills somebody because she's killing transphobes.
All these bratty kids.
All these bad, unhappy campers. These bad campers.
So, yeah, I really don't have anything else to add. I just think it's funny and dumb, and I enjoy it. I mean, there's...
I will say...
lots of...
This was made in the 80s. Some of the language is not the most progressive, but...
We'll get into it.
Still, she's a trans icon.
Yeah.
Pamela is not actually... The actress is not actually trans. The character is trans, though.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it was the 80s.
It was the 80s. But
so if you can look at it through the context of the time that it was in, if you're able to...
And also just look at her as she's killing transphobes.
Yeah.
She's killing TERFs.
So even though that there's some language and everything, it is like cool to see a trans woman, have agency. Is she killing people? Yeah. But she has power. And she has, her character has an arc.
And you kind of root for her.
And how progressive
so
for that time period. We talked about last week how if you look at Sleepaway Camp 1 through the lens of the time it was made and all that, considering the language and everything, it actually is pretty pro-trans because these movies are pro-Angela at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Which is pro-trans. That's what Maddie was saying last week. So
you root for her.
Yeah. I think it's such a funny movie.
She's the hero.
And
to me,
she is the hero in many ways. And she also does some wild shit, which we love.
I love it.
I'm ready to get into it. If you've never seen it, go watch it and come back because we're going to get into the spoilers. And, girl, are you ready to scream?
I'm ready to scream.
Girl, let's scream. Okay?
Let's scream.
So, our movie begins right away. We just are at camp.
Camp Rolling Hills. Not the same camp.
No, it is actually, apparently,
about
60 miles
away from Camp Arawak, which we learn from Phoebe, who is hanging out with a group of boys around the campfire.
She's breaking the rules. She's not supposed to be with the boy campers right now.
Nope, not after hours. Not after dark.
They're around the campfire. We have this guy who I thought was Uncle Joey from Full House the first time I watched this movie.
It is not.
But it looks like him. Anyway, he's TC. I might just call him Uncle Joey, but he is one of the counselors. He's telling a spooky story. And Phoebe is like, oh yeah, well that story is lame. I have a better story. Have you heard about this camp nearby where people were killed a few years ago?
And there's this like one kid.
That kid is so fucking funny.
Who we do see later.
Yeah.
He's one of the like...
I can't remember if he's Charlie or Emilio. He's one of the like Tit Patrol kids.
Yeah.
But he's so funny. He's like, yeah, I heard that story. Apparently she became the dark-haired girl on the Facts of Life.
A bunch of kids died.
Yeah. He's like, the way he's talking is great.
Yeah, and Phoebe's saying some not so nice things about the killer.
Of that camp.
Saying that she was psycho and some transphobic language.
Yeah, and that she was originally Peter, a boy.
Dead naming her.
And is dead naming her. And we see Angela creeping up in the background, spying on this conversation. Angela in this movie is a very different character than Angela in Sleepaway Camp 1. Oh, she's much older now. She's played, like we said, by Pamela Springsteen. And let's just say she has a big personality.
Yeah.
And we'll get into it. So, Angela comes out and she starts to yell at Phoebe for being with the boy campers. And Phoebe just insists on continuing the story, even though she's like, Phoebe, no one wants to hear that story. Stop talking. And Sean, a boy camper, is telling us about how the killer ended up in a psych ward afterwards. And
had gender-affirming care.
Yeah.
Gender-affirming surgery.
He says, but in his language, he says, she got a sex change and our parents' tax money paid for it.
Good! I think it should.
That shit is
I think
so
our tax dollars
funny.
should pay for that shit rather than war. And you know what? My friend, she got a boob job and tax dollars paid for it. So
this all clearly bothers Angela, who decides to walk Phoebe back to the cabin. And we get our first little, cunty dialogue moment. And Angela says, it's only the second week of camp and you're already getting into trouble, Phoebe.
Give me a break. All you did was sneak away from the cabin to be with the boys. Angela, TC was there, and he's the head counselor.
And then Angela goes, slut. And she goes, and you tell that awful story, scaring those kids half to death. You don't deserve to be at camp. I should send you home.
I don't believe this. Screw you, Angela. if you want to send me home, fine. See if I care. And then she gets lost in the woods.
Cuts to her, like, yeah,
She's
being
like-
lost.
She's
Angela.
like, shit, I can't see a damn thing. Damn it. Angela, come on. I'm sorry. Where the hell are you? And Angela pops
Right
behind her.
here. And she has a tree branch, and she bonks Phoebe in
And
the
she
head.
Phoebe grabs the opposite side of her head that gets hit and goes,
Ow.
and then falls. It's like the reaction is not real, but it's even funnier that it's so like not how it should have been.
And Angela, like, goes up, and she goes, that's what you get for not obeying your counselor. And here's what you get for telling evil stories and having such a filthy mouth. And she cuts
out
off
her
Phoebe's
tongue.
tongue. And the effects in this movie are so bad. Like, we praise the practical effects in Sleepaway Camp 1. They did not use the same budget here for the practical effects.
It's so funny.
You can tell it's like a little, like, blood bag that she's squeezing to, like, make the blood come out.
And the girl clearly just puts her tongue back in her mouth. Like,
Yeah.
it's so obvious.
The girl's face is, like, moving around. Like, she's clearly, like, flinching and is, like, not dead. Which all the bodies are in this movie. Like, they're all, like, flinching. It's so funny you can still see them moving. And she goes, what a bad camper. And then it cuts to the credits, and it's, like, this hard rock music.
It's so funny, and it's like, Sleepaway Camp 2. Unhappy campers.
It's so unserious.
So good. It's so 80s. It's so funny. And it just is like, tell you right away that this movie is not serious.
And I wrote in my notes, fuck yeah.
And then it's the next morning. And
Yes.
Angela wakes up the girls, because Angela is one of the counselors. And she leaves, and we meet Allie, who has her tits just out.
Yeah.
And there's this girl, Leah, just like, poor Leah. This whole movie is like, oh, poor Leah. Leah is just like kind of staring at her, and she's like, what? You've never seen a pair of boobs before? And then this girl, Demi, goes, yeah, girl, Allie, she was just staring at that long black hair that's growing out of your left nipple.
Left nipple. Yeah, so Allie is really obnoxious. And we have the character Judy in Sleepaway Camp 1. And Judy is a cunt, yes. But she's also, like, Mae West. And, like, kind of talks like Katharine Hepburn. And she's, like, kind of cunty and, like, entertaining.
Allie's just a bitch.
It's just the worst. You hate her. You're like, fuck this bitch.
You're like, I hope she gets what's coming. Because
Yeah.
she knows she's going to get
She's
what's
just
coming.
mean. We also meet, we talked about Leah. We talked about Demi. Demi's really sassy. She's really funny.
She's funny.
And then we get Mare as well. She's like a blonde girl. She's always
She's
trying
kind
to...
of like the edgy rocker girl.
Yeah, she has bangs.
We meet the, like, what are the twins' names?
Jody and Brooke Schote, I think, but they call them the Shit Sisters.
They're always baked and drunk.
Yeah. They're like, where were you guys last night? And they go, wasted. And that's us.
Yeah, those two are literally us. And then,
They're the two dumb bitches.
Then
thing.
who's the other girl? The, like, nice girl. What's her name again?
Molly.
Molly.
And Molly's like our final girl, basically. She's like our
Yes.
innocent,
Ingenue.
virginal ingenue. Yeah, she's boring as fuck to me. I don't give a fuck. But I do like this actress, and I recognized her, and I was like, "What's she from?" She's in Heathers. She's Veronica's friend, like before she like became friends with the Heathers. The like nice girl, basically the same character as Molly.
Yeah.
And they notice that Phoebe is gone, and so is all her stuff.
And like, whoa, where's Phoebe at? And Angela's like, had to send her home. Caught her with the boys doing unspeakable things. Or what did she say? Was it unspeakable things? Something like that, basically.
Yeah, she's just breaking the rules, and then she lectures Allie for sleeping with her titties out, and that she should wear a nightgown from now on. And she says, nice girls don't have to show it off.
It's so good.
And after Angela leaves again, Allie goes, well, who's going to see me naked in here anyway? And it cuts to these two little boys taking pictures of them from
One
the
of
window.
them being the boy from the beginning was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I heard she's the brunette chick from the
On the
Facts of Life.
This is him, and he goes, the tit patrol, that's who. And like this little like annoying ass kids are like taking like just perving on these girls.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and then we get this scene where Angela is walking, like doing her like perky little walk.
Yes.
This is where we kind of really get the first inclination of Angela's person, like the new Angela's personality.
Yeah.
Which is just overly like peppy.
Yes.
And
Like not a complete contrast from what she was in the first film.
she has this funny like little like doop-de-doo kind of walk. And she goes, I love this camp. She's like just walking. It's so funny. And she's talking to Uncle John, who is the owner of this camp. He's kind of barely in this movie as opposed to Mel from the last movie.
Yes.
And I don't know if you noticed, but every time I watch this movie, I always think to myself, this guy is trying out like 5 different accents for this character. It's always different every scene. And she, you know, she talks about how they sent Phoebe home and whatnot. And she says, there's a lot of good kids here, actually, Uncle John, but we just have to weed out the bad ones. At breakfast, we get all the kids sitting together and eating in the mess hall. And we get the kind of dynamic between her and Allie. And Molly is the nicey nice, like naive, innocent girl. And Allie and all the others pretty much are all complete shitheads.
Yeah, well, it's funny because like Molly's like, they're kind of making fun of Angela, and Molly's like, oh, she's not that weird. And Allie goes, weird is even the word to describe her. I think
she's a d***.
like, wait.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, Allie being the fucking worst. Like, just blatantly homophobic and transphobic.
Yeah.
Uncle John calls Angela up because she has won Counselor of the Week. And he wants her to sing the Happy Camper song.
And so she calls up Molly and Allie.
Yeah, well, first she kind of gives this, like, speech, like, I used to be a camper here. I used to be shy. Like, you know, kind of reflecting on her from the first movie.
Yeah.
And she's like, and now, well, look at me. I'm Counselor of the Week, and you can be too. Da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And she calls Molly, and she calls up Allie, who's, like, pissed. And so Allie has to reluctantly go up there. And they sing the Happy Camper song. Stevie, may we?
Oh, I'm a happy camper. I love the summer sun. I love the trees and forests. I'm always having fun. Oh, I'm a happy camper. I love to see the sky. And with the grace of God, I'll camp until I die.
And there's hand motions. She goes, don't forget the hand motions. Then we see short hair girl counselor, Diane, who is a hottie, but she's barely in this movie. Like, when she showed up, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot this bitch in her, like, Demi Moore haircut. And TC, the guy counselor with the mullet, Uncle Joey, comes up, and he's kind of actually flirting with Angela. Like, I think he likes her, and is trying to get her to hang out.
Yeah.
And he wants to invite her to swim. And all she says, and he gives her, like, a slice of gum, and she just goes, oh, I hate green gum. And, like, he's like, okay, but are you gonna, like, respond to my question? And she goes, oh, yeah, I'll call you later. And she, like, walks away. And he's like, how are you gonna call me later? We don't have phones here. And then they're at the pool later.
And Sean and Molly are flirting, and they are, as you said, so boring.
They are. Who gives a fuck about these two? They're just so nicey nice.
Oh, but then Allie is hanging out with this guy, Rob, and she does this, like, she, like, takes off, she's wearing a t-shirt, but she takes off her, like, bikini top from underneath, underneath.
Well, yeah, because
like,
Rob is just going on and on about how good he is at soccer, and she's, like, not listening.
Yeah, and then she does some reverse psychology.
Oh, yeah.
And she goes, Rob Durango, if you throw me in that water,
I'll kill you.
And then he does it.
Which, obviously, yeah.
Because she knew. And then she swims over to Molly and Sean. And she gets out, and you can see her tits through her wet t-shirt.
Mm-hmm. And one of the little kids goes, party hats at 3 o'clock.
And like Molly and Deshaun look and like do not give a
shit.
fuck.
Yeah. She's like, oh, look at my nipples. And he's so interested in like nice girl Molly that he doesn't notice. We see then Angela creeping through the woods as she does.
We see the shit
sisters.
and they are smoking some pot and drinking some alcohol.
Being bad campers. And the one sings, oh, I'm a happy camper. I love to drink and fuck. And if you pay me money on my titties, you can suck. Oh. And Angela
Big
does
mistake.
not like that. She gives this look like, oh, fuck them kids. And then the next morning, she finds them again out in the woods, making out with a boy and drinking. And one of them is already passed out. We cut to that sister waking up. There's joints like all over her. There's lighter fluid getting poured all over her. And we also see she's laying on like a grill, like a huge grill kind of thing. She sits up and she sees her sister's burnt skeleton sitting across from her. And she lets out this like giant scream. And Angela like tells her like, oh, you've been a bad camper, this and that. You've wasted not only your life, but you also wasted your sister's life too. And she lights a match and she burns them to death. And she goes, say no to drugs.
And then she roasts a marshmallow.
And she's got her big like cheesy smile. And then we keep getting these moments, these scene transitions in this movie too, where you'll hear somebody go, ah, and do a scream, and then you see like red liquid like dropping, and then it cuts away and it's like ketchup.
Yeah.
Or it's like, in this case,
it's this girl
red paint.
painting. And this girl has a weird accent. She's
I want to go home.
I want to go home. I don't want to. And Angela's like, oh, no, are you sure you're not tired? Do you want to go lay down? She's like, you're not listening to me. I want to go home. Take me home, please.
And Angela goes, I think I can arrange that. But then, and you think that like Angela's going to go kill her. No, her like parents come and like pick her up and she actually goes home.
She just leaves. Angela just lets her. She's like, okay, fine.
It's so funny. It's like, oh, she actually did arrange to send her home. Wow.
And that's when she's with Uncle John, and he's like, dang, that's 2 campers down. And she's like, ooh, 4. I just send the shit sisters home. He's like, what? And he was like, well, they were drinking and
they were
fornicating with a boy.
He goes, you sent them home? Angela, you need to talk to me or TC before doing things like that.
And she goes, like I just did now? And he goes,
oh, well, yeah.
That was good. That was really good.
Yeah, you did it. And she's like, okay. And that night, the girls are in their cabin and they hear rustling outside.
Uh-oh.
Who is it? It's the boys, and they're doing a panty raid, which always reminds me of SpongeBob.
Yes, and it's freaking Mr. Krabs' mom.
Yeah, that's what it is. They do the panty raid at Mr. Krabs' mom's house.
Mrs. Krabs.
I guess you're gonna miss the panty raid.
Angela walks in, and the boys are like all leaving scared, and then the girls devise a plan to get the boys back. They're gonna do a jockstrap raid.
Yes.
And then Angela walks in on the girls doing the jockstrap raid right as Mare is like messing around.
Flashing her titties.
And she flashes her titties.
And
Angela looks mad. We cut to Angela and Mare out in the car. And Mare is saying that I want to go home.
I'm sorry you feel that way, because even though you did a cheap, disgusting act by exposing your breasts, I really think that you didn't know any better. You were just trying to impress everybody, especially Allie.
I was not.
Sure you were, Mary. You don't have to go through life as a tag-along. Why don't you just try being yourself?
I told you my name is not Mary. It's Mare. I hate that name.
I'm giving you one last chance, Mare. We're sleeping out tomorrow night. I'd love to have you there. Just say you're sorry.
Never. I'd rather die first, Angela. And Angela starts rummaging.
She like just gets
Takes a sigh.
She takes a sigh and she just starts reaching into the back seat.
And Mare goes, oh, what are you looking for, Angela? A gun?
No. A drill.
She pulls out a drill.
And she starts drilling more
into Mare. And next morning, the two boys are planning on pranking Angela that night. It's like the kid with the mullet and then like the only black kid at camp.
Yeah.
I can't remember their names, but they
Well, Demi's also black.
Oh yeah, and Demi, sorry. TC is making an announcement that some items have gone missing. And among them are a Camp Rolling Hill sweatshirt.
Okay.
A beach towel.
Okay.
A first aid kit.
Okay.
A saw. 50 feet of rope. He goes, the battery from my car. And a portable electric drill.
Ooh.
And then he also says, and like some pairs of bras and panties.
And
says,
jockstraps.
And jockstraps. And the one kid goes, oh, those are mine. And Demi goes, which ones?
The bras or the panties?
Love Demi. And Molly is out after that. She's walking through the woods and she happens upon Angela, who is literally humming to herself, Kumbaya.
Kumbaya, my lord.
Wednesday Addams from Addams Family 2 would hate this.
Yes.
And she is like, oh, she's out by this like abandoned cabin. And Molly is like, oh, are you like, have you ever been in the cabin before? And Angela's like, oh, you can't. It's all boarded up. You won't be able to go in. And she's like, oh, okay. So yeah, there's just like this weird abandoned cabin that she like chills by.
Yeah.
And Angela and Molly actually have like a heart to heart. They're like sitting together.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh, don't worry about Allie. Sean's smart. He knows a good thing when he sees it.
Yeah, but she's so popular. She's even a cheerleader. Guys like to go out with cheerleaders. I tried out for it, but I didn't make it. I guess I just didn't cheer loud enough. I'm so shy sometimes.
I used to be shy. I'd never talk to anyone. Now you can't get me to shut up.
It's more than that. Allie, she's more experienced.
Which means she probably has a disease or two. In this day and age, you can't be too careful. And no matter what they say, boys like nice girls. I'm still a virgin, and I'm proud to be one. There's a saying that my aunt taught me. Aunt Martha.
Hell yeah, I got...
It's helped me through a lot of hard times, and it goes like this. You keep your morals strong, and you'll never go wrong. And then the next scene, they're doing like a haunted house thing.
You know, the one where you like reach in, and it's like, it's spaghetti, and it's supposed to be like monster intestines. And,
eyeballs.
Like, eyeballs, it's like grapes.
And she goes, dead teenagers' brains. And they put their hands in. And then the one counselor goes, hey, Angela, what did you put in there? And she goes, dead teenagers' brains. And those two kids that are going to prank Angela, they are working on Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees costumes. Because they're going to scare Angela.
Angela's gonna dookie
In her pants.
And I always think she kind of overhears them.
Yeah, you can see her in the background being like, bitch, I can fucking hear y'all. You know that? And then we have this scene of the two pervy little Tit Patrol boys.
Yep.
They get caught by Angela. And she sees all their Polaroids.
And they have one of
including
her.
One of her. And she goes, Uncle John is going to hear about this. And she leaves. And the one turns to the other and he goes, uh-oh, was Angela's photo in there? And he goes, yep. And they both go, oh, shit. And then she shows
him
TC.
the TC, and he's like, nice tits.
Yeah. Well,
Fucking gross. I'm
the
like,
fuck?
I like, on this rewatch, because I got the thing you said with the flirting thing. And I always thought it was throughout it. And then I realized, I'm like, he becomes kind of an asshole towards her.
oh, he's gross. Yeah.
And like, I just
Nice
don't
tits.
really like him.
And she goes, well, I never thought that pornography
was funny. Which, I'm going to disagree with her on that, because
There
I
are
have
some
watched-
really funny
I've watched
pornos.
some really funny pornos.
Come on
Right in
now.
front of my salad. I'm breaking up with you. You won't even take a selfie with me.
Yeah, The Naked Chef. If you've never watched The Naked Chef, that's a really funny one. Okay. But
I'm on her side.
yeah, right? Yeah. Why wouldn't he take a selfie? Like, come on now. And he does warn her about the 2 kids that are going to prank her, even though she probably already knew. But yeah. That night, the girls are out. They're like doing a campfire out by themselves. And they're talking about the boys and where the boys at. And, they're pranking Angela, this and that. And Denise says, they better not get us into trouble because my parents will strangle me if I get in trouble.
I never caught that.
Mm-hmm. Foreshadowing. The boys are all dressed up like Freddie and Jason in the woods. And they are looking for Angela. And they split up to go to find her.
And so then the kid dressed as Freddie, he can't find his glove. And he's looking, and he finds it, and Angela's wearing it, and she just slits his throat.
Which is the only good effect in this whole movie, is that throat slice.
Yeah.
Everything else looks horrible. Although his noises are like... And then the kid dressed up as Jason yells out, "Hey, faggot, where are you?" And we laughed so hard.
And she appears dressed as Leatherface. She's wearing the Freddy Krueger kid's face now.
Yeah, as the mask. And she chainsaws his leg. And then she chainsaws him in half. And then she goes, "Once I start a task, I always finish." And then she scares the girls, but like just kind of briefly. And it's like, it's me.
They're like, "Oh my God, Angela!"
Yeah.
What? She's
they're actually like impressed. They're like, "Oh, we didn't think you'd like do something cool like this." And she's like, "Well, yeah,
I'm full of surprises."
Mm-hmm.
And then she was like,
"Where's Allie?"
And they're like, "Oh, she said she had cramps."
She said she had cramps last week. We cut to Allie. She's in an empty cabin with Rob. And she's getting ate out, but this scene is terrible.
This is one of the, like, this makes sex look just, like, so...
Yeah, you can tell that, like, maybe they've never had sex before, these actors, or I don't know, but they're both, like, flailing around.
It
like,
is weird.
They sound like they're
the bathroom, and it's just like, I'm like, ow. All of this looks like it hurts.
Yeah.
Like, sex is not like this.
And, like, he's supposed to be going down on her, but, like... His head is clearly not all the way down where her puss is.
Yeah.
So it kind of looks like he's like kissing her stomach, but she's like, like just like way. She's at like a 12.
So anyway, Angela shows up and the door is locked and she tries to start the
chainsaw. And it won't, I think the battery's dead. And she's like, fuck. And she like puts the chainsaw down. Like, I guess I'll try and like just talk to them because I can't kill them.
And so she's like knocking. Allie hears and makes the guy hide.
Yeah. And he's like, where should I hide, on the can? She's like, yeah, I don't give a shit.
Just stand on it.
And she says, why is this door locked, Allie? And she goes,
I didn't want some psycho killer to come get me.
And Angela rolls her eyes, and it's so funny. And the next day, Allie comes up to Molly and bitches Molly
She's
out.
like, listen, I hate you and you hate me. And Molly's like, I don't hate you.
Yeah, and she's like, yeah, you do. Fuck it. Because I know you do, because I really hate you. And you're just all nicey nice, and I'm not buying it.
She's like, you can have Sean. He's a lazy lay anyway.
And she goes, just leave me alone. And it's like,
you're
the one who approached me. Just
like Molly's like,
just went into this girl.
Fuck?
It's so funny. And she calls Angela a dyke again. And Molly goes to cry, and she like tells on Allie to Angela. Mm-hmm. Which basically means R.I.P. to Allie. Because Allie...
Oh, Angela has had it with her.
Oh.
And we will know how much she's had it with her.
Allie is out in the woods. Again, getting dramatically fucked over the top, like...
Oh, that's right.
She's like,
I blocked the scene because it's so stupid.
It's so stupid. And, yeah, her tits are out. I will say here, this is a good time to point it out, that this movie does not have the, like, subversion to the male gaze that we had in Sleepaway Camp Part 1, where all the men are naked.
Which is probably my only complaint.
This movie, it's just another, like, titties out slasher. Which is maybe the reason why, I don't know, I love them both, but like I think I maybe like the first one a little bit more, but they're both just my babies. And yeah, she fucks Rob and immediately goes, listen, you don't have AIDS or anything, do you? See ya.
He's like, no. It's just like, okay.
And then she finds a note from Sean, quote unquote, telling her to meet at the abandoned cabin. And she goes up to the abandoned cabin and she's knocking on it and she's looking through the like mesh screen door. And she's like, Sean, where are you? This is where we get my favorite scene of the movie.
It's so good.
Angela is waiting for her. We see her kind of like peek out over the window. And she's
goes like, screw
God
you.
Damn, Molly. And she goes, God damn, Angela. And like pops out. And she goes, what's your problem, Angela?
You and kids like you.
Very funny.
I didn't think you'd fall for it. You're dumber than I thought.
And she goes, yeah, well, you're more fucked up than I thought. And she turns around.
And Angela stabs her in the
pulls
back.
out a knife. And she goes, get up.
Get to the toilet.
Get in the toilet.
There's
like,
an out.
She has this big stick and she's like pushing Allie into the toilet. And she goes, what's down there? What's down there? Answer me.
Shit.
That's right. One of your favorite words. Mind if I borrow it for a second? You've been a shitty friend and a shitty camper. What else is down there?
Piss.
Yeah, you pissed away your good wits and your God-given talent your whole life and turned into nothing but a cynical, dirty-mouthed waste of flesh. What else is down there, Allie?
I don't know.
That I guess you're gonna have to climb in and find out. And she pushes Allie like up into the actual toilet.
Yeah.
And you hear this like nasty like farting sound effect as she's like all in the turds. And then she pokes her head out. She has leeches all over her face. And she goes, leeches, Allie, for a leech like you. And then she goes, you should have been the first
to go.
And Allie gets killed by the leeches. And she kind of goes and like drowns on the turds. Ew.
Yeah.
But it's such a good death scene. I love
It's so funny.
that
so
scene.
funny. What a shitty way to die.
That's a shitty way to go. And that night, Rob and Sean are like playing cards. And they're talking about how, oh, we can't find Allie. And like some of the other kids are missing. And Sean brings up Peter Baker, a.k.a. the Angel of Death, as he was called.
Yes.
Who we know was Angela's, like, birth name, like, dead name.
Dead name.
From the first movie. Demi goes to visit... This is another great scene. She goes to visit Angela in, like, the empty cabin.
Angela's playing her guitar.
Yeah. And she goes, Demi... And she goes, I just wanted to tell you, Angela.
Well, there's a really funny little thing. Demi puts her feet on Angela's bed, and Angela goes,
like, no shoes on the bed. And so Demi, like, rolls her eyes and, like, puts her shoes. But Angela
has her shoes
on the bed. Yeah, that's great. And Demi is all like, yeah, well, this weird thing happened I wanted to tell you about, Angela. So I was bored in the mess hall, and I decided to call Phoebe's parents. And they said Phoebe was still at camp. So I thought that was weird, right? And Angela goes, so what did you do? And Demi goes, oh, so then I called.
Well, I didn't want to make a disturbance, so I just said, oh, sorry, thank you. And I hung up.
And Angela's like, that's good, that's good. She turns and she shuts the window. And then she gets up and she goes and she locks the door. And Demi keeps talking.
She keeps talking about all the people who've been sent home. She starts calling them. She's like,
basically
then
like...
I called Mars' parents and they said, well, they actually hope that she ran away.
And
good riddance.
Angela starts, because she's like, okay, I'm going to kill this bitch now.
And she starts going around the room, just picking up random objects, seeing like, can I kill her with this?
Like, and she has a pencil. She's like, is that going to be sharp?
And
no.
Demi is just talking.
Going on and on.
Combing her hair in the mirror. And
then,
she's like, what are you doing in there, Angela? And she's like, oh, just fixing my guitar.
Then I love this, because Angela picks up, she's gonna test out a hairbrush just so she could use that as like a weapon. And then she's like, well, no, but I guess I could comb my hair a little
her
bit.
hair's in a braid. So
She comes
the
the end of
very
her
end.
braid.
The very end of it.
It's so camp. She finally decides to remove the string from her guitar. And then she goes in, Demi still rattling on, and she goes, you know what something, Demi? You talk too much. And then she strangles her
Demi
with the string of the guitar. Diva down. I
Diva
love
down.
Demi. And this is so good too.
But she's trying to hide the body, and Leah shows up. And if you don't remember Leah,
Whiny
Leah is a whiner. She's the one from the beginning. She also had a moment we didn't talk about, but the first scene at the mess hall, Allie gives her food, and she goes, here, Leah, I heard these will make your tits grow. And Leah goes, you're not supposed to give away food, Allie. I'm gonna tell.
Yeah, she's always like, Allie, you're not supposed to do that. Like, she's the complainer.
Yeah,
the whiner,
she's the one, I'm gonna
tattletale.
tell. And so
She goes,
she gets into the cabin, which was locked. She's like, who locked the door? And she's like, who's in here? And she sees Demi's body, and she's
Demi,
like,
what are
Demi,
you doing?
what are you doing? And Angela pops out with a knife.
and she goes, I love Leah's reaction. She goes, what did I do? I didn't do anything. And Angela goes,
You were gonna tell.
And stabs her. It's so good.
Leah.
And then she goes, no more whining. And like, from this point on, you're like, okay. At first, I thought Angela was like the morality police, but now she doesn't give a fuck. Like, she's just gonna kill anybody. She's like, whatever. I love it.
You were gonna tell.
And later, Molly goes to visit Angela, who is dressed like Carrie White's mom now, like in this white nightgown, looking crazy.
And all of the beds are empty.
Completely abandoned cabin. And she goes, you sent everyone home? And Angela's like, I had to. They were all bad campers.
I had no choice.
And that night, we get the most incredible scene, which apparently was put in this movie just to fill the time so that it could be considered like a full-length movie. Because it has nothing to do with anything. Angela is laying in her bed, she's sleeping, and she's like tossing and turning. And it's this dramatic zoom onto her, and it's overlaid with like footage from the movie, like recapping like everything that's happened in the movie.
And it's the I'm Happy Camper song.
Yes.
But it's in
the whole
slow
time
motion.
You're hearing it.
She goes, let's sing the Happy Camper song.
Don't forget the hand motions.
And it has this like blue tint.
And she's like, oh God. Like writhing around in her bed, like haunted by it. Oh my God. And it's like all of her kills so far, basically.
And
it's so funny.
Funny.
I love it. And then the next day, Uncle John, like hard cut to him being like, Angela, you're fired. And she's like, what? What did I do? And he's like, you sent too many kids home, bitch. And she's like, well, what if I said I was sorry and that I wouldn't do it again? And he's like,
you need to be out by lunch.
Yeah, they're basically like, it's over for you, girl. Like, go home. You're done. She is devastated because, as we know, she loves this camp. I love this camp. And she's so sad.
Yeah.
She seeks comfort from Molly. And then she's like, Molly, I'll come say goodbye to you later. I just have to take care of something first. Molly goes and tells Sean about what happened. And she wants Sean's help to come and help console Angela and maybe try and convince her to stay. Like, because Angela is Molly's favorite counselor for whatever reason. And they go to the abandoned cabin to look for her. They find Angela sitting outside. She's like kind of sitting by the little pond or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And Molly comes up to her and Angela starts talking about how this all reminds her about back when she was a camper and there was a mean boy. That's who TC reminds me of. Yeah. This mean boy who was always bullying me. But don't worry. I fixed him.
She's like, oh, what'd you do?
I drowned him.
And Molly just kind of goes,
They're just like, what?
Huh? She's like a little confused.
And right at that moment, we see Sean in the background. He walks into the abandoned cabin, and Angela notices and goes, "Don't go in there!" And we see it is all the bodies, and they all look really bad.
Yeah.
It literally looks like she went to Spirit Halloween and was just grabbing like random zombie mannequins and stuff.
Yeah.
It's so bad, y'all, but it's so funny. And she comes up and she beats Sean in the head with a stick, and she grabs Molly and she ties her up. We see that she has like tied them to the chairs, like some time has passed, and they're just sitting there like all tortured. And she's rattling on about canned food. She says something like, "Oh, they need to find a way to make canned French fries. I'm such a nut for French fries." Just being her cheesy Angela self. TC arrives, and Angela greets him with a cup of acid to the face.
Now we know where that battery went.
That was stolen. And this effect looks terrible again.
Yeah.
All the kills look horrible. That's kind of part of the charm, though, of this movie.
Yeah.
And she goes over and she ungags Sean. And he starts, like, talking to her out loud. And he realizes
detonates her.
that she is the killer from Camp Arawak. He says, "You're Angela Baker, the angel of death. We should have called you Peter." Transphobic.
The dead naming, not appreciated. My name is Angela Johnson.
He goes, "No, you're Angela Baker. You killed all those kids at Camp Arawak.
I've been Angela Johnson for 4 years.
How did you get this job here?"
Easy. I've got great recommendations from doctors, psychiatrists, even clergymen. I did my time. 2 years of therapy, electroshock. It was every kind of pill you've ever heard of, plus an operation.
I'm completely cured.
Transphobic.
She's like,
If I
"Listen,
wasn't,
I'm
they
cured."
wouldn't have let me out. How do you know so much about me?
"Well, my dad's a cop. He's the one who helped arrest you. You should have heard him the day you got out."
That's too bad. Wait till he hears what happened to you. And then she chops off his head! And the effect's really bad.
It's literally, okay, so it's clearly a mannequin, and they don't cut away fast enough for you to not realize it's a mannequin head. It looks horrible. Like, when we were watching it last night, like, Keaton busted the fuck out laughing looking at that mannequin head.
Because it's so fake.
And Angela goes and she like puts his head in the TV, and she like goes over and she's like trying to comfort Molly, and she's like, "Molly, cheer up. Hey, look who's on the TV," and like points, and we see that Sean's head is like sitting there, and Molly like screams, and like she's totally traumatizing this poor girl.
Yeah.
And Angela goes out and she's dragging another like random body in. I guess his name is Matt. I don't remember this kid, but I think it's maybe the kid that was making out with the shit sisters earlier. And during this time, Molly is able to get out of her binds, and she attacks Angela with a stick and is able to escape. Angela gets back up pretty soon, and she starts pursuing Molly, and this chase scene is diabolical because you know how like in a good chase scene you'd be able to see both people, so you can tell like who's getting close or who's gaining on who, and kind of creates excitement. This is just cutbacks from like them both running in random parts of the woods, and you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
It's so bad. And I love the whole time her being like, "Molly, come back. I just want to be your friend. Like, come here, Molly.
I'm not going to hurt you."
I just want to be friends, Molly. And she finally catches up to Molly, and they have this like showdown, and unfortunately for Molly, she gets backed up off of this short cliff and like presumably dies.
Such a great line from Angela. She says, "Molly, no! Well, if it's any consolation, you almost
made it." And then that night, Counselor Diane, with her like Demi Moore haircut, finds everyone else's bodies in Uncle John's cabin, and these effects look bad. This is where you can clearly see the kid who plays Rob. He's like hanging there, and like his eyes are kind of like twitching, like clearly alive. And Angela pops out and she stabs Diane, and then she like turns the lights off and she turns around. She gives us an iconic line. She goes, "Good night, campers," and shuts the door. We see that Angela has now gotten a ride from my favorite character, the trucker lady, who has this big, like, comically large cowboy hat on. And she's like, thank you for giving me a ride, lady. And the lady goes, ain't no skin off my tits. A girl like you shouldn't be out here alone. I mean, if you're gonna get screwed, you'd like to know who you're getting screwed by, right? And then she gets out her cigarettes and she's like, I quit these things so many times, I had to quit quitting. And Angela goes, oh, well, you mind cracking a window? Boss got boss. I mean, the way I see it, I'm just too dumb to drink and I'm too fat to fuck. So Angela...
It's just so over it. She stabs her.
Stabs her, yeah. We see Molly wake up like she's alive somehow. And she stumbles onto the road and she waves down a truck. It's Angela! And she goes, howdy, partner. And she's wearing the big cowboy hat.
Yep.
And this movie ends with just a zoom in on Molly's terrified face as she screams. The end. That's it. That's Sleepaway Camp 2.
Love this movie.
It's so fun.
It's so good.
It's so unserious.
Good.
And
so good.
so many great lines. Like, the comedy writers on this were doing some good coke. They were doing some good coke. All right, girl. So we did it. We covered your fave.
My favorite movie. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you all had a great time with us at Camp Rolling Hill.
Highly recommend it. Next week, we're going to continue the summer camp theme. We will discuss what that's going to be.
Yes.
And stay tuned. So, thank you so much for joining us today on Let's Scream. We hope you had a fun time with us at Camp Rolling Hills. Please remember to follow us, like us, and leave a glowing review of the pod. We are at Let's Scream Pod on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify. You can also send us movie requests for future episodes as well. You can follow me at Parker_Will_C.
You can follow me at Stevie Nash 95.
And until next time, this has been
Let's Scream. Bye.